Hot take. Michael Cohen going to prison? Not the worst thing to happen to Trump today. Dyze in your house. Exclusively on East Coast Radio. Mile journey begins with one step. Progressives took that step on November 6th. The journey's not over, but we took a step in the right direction.
If you don't know what Staten Island is, it's like New York's abortion that lived.
Did you see New York 11 elected a Democrat? New York 11 is Staten Island, the most Trumpian place in New York City. Elected a Democrat. Don't try to tell me it wasn't a wave. Robert Mueller isn't the only person investigating Trump now. We have the House Intel Committee is now chaired by Adam Schiff, and they have subpoena power. And he will use it. And he will get to the bottom of this, like he's been trying to do for the last 2 years, and Devin Nunes has been stymieing him. Devin Nunes is no longer the chairman. The midnight runs to the White House are over. I made a promise to the listeners of East Coast Radio that if the Democrats did not mess up November, that if November 6th went our way, that we would have a little fun here on East Coast Radio. And if you stay tuned, I promise you this. Along with our fighting fascism and trying to save democracy, we will have a little fun. Because we earned it. Keep it locked to East Coast Radio. Remember, we got Dyze in your house at the end of the week. We got the J Parks podcast at the beginning of the week. Every week, East Coast Radio for the least heard voices. Get us on Patreon, patreon.com/JParks, and follow us on Twitter at East Coast Radio. Let's punch fascism in the face. One podcast at a time.
If you don't know what Staten Island is, it's like New York's abortion that lived. Representing Staten Island. Staten Island was no
joke. Hey, yo. Who's in the house? Dyze in your house. What is the word, peeps? What goes on? It is a Wacky Wednesday or Thirsty Thursday edition of Dyze in your house, depending on when you tuned in. This is going out late Wednesday, early Thursday. We waited for Michael Cohen to get sentenced before we can get started on a brand new edition of Dyze in your house, exclusively on East Coast Radio. For the least heard voice. Do on East Coast Radio as we fight fascism one podcast at a time. We flex the golden pipes to make our voices heard and to get things done and to change the fabric of society that has been deteriorating for a while now, has not been progressing as well as we would like it to have been. But it is 2018, last coming weeks of it. So let's explain to you what's going on here. Dyze in Your House is the second podcast to be on East Coast Radio. The first podcast, the numero uno, is the J Parks podcast, which is the long-form show. We go over an hour, and that usually comes to you on Monday. And Dyze in Your House serves as a pre-show to that, because there's so much craziness going on that we needed to make sure that we have like a pre-game show or a post-game show, depending on however many news stories don't care about deadlines this week. But Dyze in Your House is a quicker podcast. It's usually under a half hour, usually under 40 minutes. So it's easier to get out to you. So like Michael Cohen today. So I waited. It happened. I drank some coffee. And now I'm here, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit. Just give the J Parks take on it, on Dyze in Your House, which usually comes out on Friday. But today it's coming out late Wednesday, early Thursday. And the reason why is that I'm going down to the woods. I'm going down to South Jersey this weekend because my birthday is Sunday. Sunday is my birthday. There may be a J Porks podcast or an episode of Dyze in Your House hitting your airwaves on Sunday. We will see how that goes. We'll see if I can go without news happening. So chances are there is going to be a podcast hitting you over the weekend. But let's talk about Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen has been cooperating with the Southern District of New York. Everybody knows Michael Cohen by now, right? I don't need to, go into the Wikipedia page on Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen, Trump's personal lawyer, fixer in the, if Roy Cohn and Saul Goodman, got together and all the bad parts of both of those individuals were something, this would be Michael Cohen. So Michael Cohen's Trump's lawyer. He's Trump's fixer originally. He paid some porn stars some money, and everyone thought that was the worst thing he did. Then it turned out he was selling access to Trump to corporations across the world, like AT&T and all that stuff. And he made $4 million, or he was supposed to make $4 million. This is, has nothing to do with his taxi medallion scheme that he was caught up in. He is a New Yorker after all. And he is a fixer after all. Michael Cohen has 3 clients. Elliot Brody, who was, I think he's a GOP donor, or does he work for the RNC? Either way, Elliot Brody, there was some abortion. Someone got paid off. A mistress got paid off for an abortion. Trump's his second client. And his third client is Sean Hannity, which is going to have an interesting tone to his show tonight. And he'll probably be on by the time this comes out. Sean Hannity's client number 3, so it's just a matter of time before we find out what the heck illegal activities Sean Hannity was up to. But Michael Cohen's getting 3 years in prison. And you know what? I don't mean to echo the Michael Avenatti's, quote from earlier today, because I was on the Basta train for a while, but man, that train went off the tracks quick, and I really don't want to see this guy on television anymore. But Michael Cohen is not a hero. He's not a patriot. He's a criminal, and he broke the law. And you know what? I'm glad that he was able to give information to Robert Mueller that is going to be helpful in the special counsel probe. I am glad that he was able to give information to the Southern District of New York to help start their investigation or continue their investigation into the Trump organization and all of the layers and tentacles it has and all of the fraudulent activity. I'm glad that Michael Cohen was part of the reason Alan Weisselberg, the CFO, the accountant for the Trump organization, got immunity and is singing songs. And as all the political operatives say, Alan Weisselberg knows where the bodies are buried. He knows where the bodies are buried. I don't think there's no actual bodies, but there's a lot of fraudulent activity, a lot of paid off porn stars, a lot of stuff that's going to be coming out. Michael Cohen doesn't report to jail till March 6th. So his cooperation is not necessarily over. So let's not, act like, oh, well, that's all we got out of Michael Cohen. No, remember, they raided his offices and they took all of his documents that he was in the process of shredding, I believe, and they took his recordings of his phone calls with clients. He's only got 3 clients. The FBI has the phone calls. Prosecutors have the tapes. Lordy, there are tapes. And isn't it going to be wonderful when we get to hear those tapes? I can't wait. But let me tell you something that I picked up on and that everyone else did. I'm not listen, again, I'm not an expert in the field. I'm just a guy observing this with you, trying to give you the J Porks, view on things. But we all read the same headlines, read the same news articles. In this filing today, a non-prosecution cooperation agreement, which means that the person engaged in this agreement was not necessarily being charged with a crime. That's not why they're cooperating. But they have entered a cooperation agreement. The Southern District, is it the Southern District or is it Mueller? The government, anybody, either way. With AMI and David Pecker, they have immunity too. Now, AMI owns the National Enquirer, Us Weekly, and a slew of other magazines and news outlets across the country. Here's what's key about that. It's not like Karen McDougal and Stormy Daniels are the only two porn stars that Donald Trump has paid to have sex with. There are more. And possibly Michael Cohen didn't pay them all off. Maybe the National Enquirer bought their stories and put them in David Pecker's vault. He's got a vault. This is not a... It's not a, I'm not using the word, I'm not exaggerating. He actually has a vault in his office with, they were saying Trump stories. I believe it's all stories. Stories about Trump and other powerful people who have, people who get stories shut down. And this is the fabric of it. That amendment is first. The one where you don't suppress information. The one where everybody gets to know everything. That's not national security. If it's national security stuff, I get that. Not everyone gets the nuclear codes. But the press operating freely is something that this country is based on. It's not, I don't like this story, I'm gonna buy it and kill it. That's not how this country works. Okay? And Michael Cohen, again, I'm glad he came clean with all his stuff, but he was important in getting Pecker and Weisselberg in on this. Pecker and Weisselberg. Pecker and Weisselberg both have immunity. And Pecker and Weisselberg both have a lot of things to say about things going on in the Trump orbit. So, you might say, what's Cohen got to say? Well, he's got the hush money payments from Moscow. And he's got, no known campaign finance violations. So we have all that. The National Enquirer is working with investigators, sharing all of their information in order to not be charged with, future obstruction of justice. And the main thing, and I'm so glad I took that second sip of the second cup of coffee right there, kicked into my brain. The important thing about Michael Cohen today, about all of this, is that the judge made a specific point in saying and listing all of his crimes. The judge specifically, the final point that was made was lying to Congress. So now a judge sent Michael Cohen to jail for 3 years, not mostly, but a big part, and a point that was made in open court, because he lied to Congress. Well, I think we got a couple of other candidates of people that have lied to Congress. Hi, Roger Stone. His testimony to Congress has more amendments than the Constitution. Jared Kushner. Because if Jared Kushner told Congress the truth, he wouldn't have security clearance, he wouldn't be at the G20, he wouldn't be in the White House, he wouldn't be anywhere. He would be considered a foreign agent. He'd be considered compromised. Well, Who's not compromised in the West Wing now? Don Jr.? Because again, remember, nobody knew about the Trump Tower Moscow nobody knew about the Trump Tower meeting with the Russian lawyer, Veselnitskaya. Nobody knew about that. And all of this. So we got Trump is basically, he's a co-defendant almost in this. And this indicting can't indict a sitting president thing, that's not written anywhere. I mean, I don't know if it's written anywhere. It's not a law. Maybe we should test this thing out right now. Because I really think that we're getting to the point where we're going to need to, listen, this whole thing is unprecedented. And we got to do whatever we can to get this guy unprecedented. You know what I'm saying? Do you know how much is going on that I can't even talk about my favorite story, Maria Butina? Maria Butina, who is a Russian national who is being charged with conspiracy, who infiltrated the NRA to funnel money through the NRA to Trump. Maria Butina, who is under investigation and arrested by not Mueller, not the Southern District of New York, just regular old investigators who saw some regular old Red Sparrow stuff going on. And Maria Butina has copped a plea, and she's going to work with investigators. And she's going to tell them exactly how she helped the Russian government funnel money into the NRA, or at least helped the Russian government get influence into the NRA and top GOP donors. Also, her handler is Alexander Torshin, one of Putin's guys. You may have heard that name on Rachel Maddow before. Alexander Torshin is her handler, and he is said to have retired. Yeah. I'm sure to a country without extradition. Shit ton of stuff went down. Michael Flynn doesn't want jail. Michael Flynn's probably not getting jail time. Which means he's, listen, goes to show you, and I'll take this straight from a tweet from our buddy Greg Oliar. There are 3 kinds of cooperation. There's right away, which is Mike Flynn, no jail time. There's, someone in the middle, which is Michael Cohen, 3 years. And, there's Paul Manafort, who is going to die in prison. So there are different levels, several different levels to this. Remember when you all thought, and not you all, remember when people were telling me that Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump were the same? It's like the same. They're like almost the same person. I don't find that. I beg to differ with your hypothesis. And it's being proven every day to be wrong. Boy, do I wish we had Hillary Clinton right now. She wouldn't have Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer in the Oval Office having a discussion about an omnibus bill or something in front of the press. You see this baby? What a fucking baby this guy is. No, you know what? Calling Trump a fucking baby is an insult to fucking babies, okay? Nancy can't really talk right now. Yeah, Nancy Pelosi bitch smacked you. And Pence sat there Weekend at Bernie's style. I know, I got that from Maddow too. I'm very liberal by the amount of hours I watch Maddow each week. You can tell how liberal I am. Up to 11. My coffee's almost done. Here's what we got. So I just gave you the week. What we're gonna try to do is I gotta gather all this Maria Butina information. I want to get a thread on it. I want to get a thread count going. So we're gonna try to get that set up for a special episode, a birthday episode of the J Porks podcast on Sunday. If we don't do that, we are really going to try to come to you with at least an episode of Dyze in your house on Sunday. It is my birthday. If you were thinking about gifts to get me, I would just encourage you to go over to patreon.com/jporks. And I'm not saying to become a Patreon. I'm not saying to pledge and become a East Coast Radiohead. Just telling you to go look at it. Just go check it out. Tell me what you think. Can somebody give me an opinion on something? That's all I ask. Someone give me some, advice, some guidance on something. I'm asking for help. Also, tweet at me at jporks. If you want to get on this pod, if you want to talk about anything, let me know. If you have questions, comments, queries. Subscribe to East Coast Radio on iTunes. Subscribe to East Coast Radio on YouTube. Got a lot going on. East Coast Radio for the least heard voices. And also, before I get up on out of here, if you guys go to themeatpuppets.com, the Meat Puppets have a new single out. It's called Warranty. So if their forthcoming record, Dusty Notes, which is coming out in March, and they will be on tour coming to a town near you in 2009, 5-piece power trio. Check them out. Pre-order Dusty Notes on iTunes. Even get yourself a Meat Puppets Christmas ornament. Till next week, J-Porks, Dyze in your house. Exclusively on East Coast Radio.